have a particular DNA. And what is DNA? It's an information field. And they, when they create hybrids and anything like that, they see it as a software program. They don't see it the way we see it. And so the reason that these bloodlines interbreed so incessantly, I mean, we see it with royals, but all these Eastern establishment families of the United States into banking and corporations, they interbreed just the same. It's to hold this information field, which has a certain series of personality traits which the archontic force wants in these hybrids because it makes them work on their behalf without any compassion or empathy or question in terms of the impact and suffering that they make people have. So this information field, this DNA, this hybrid, has the natural order traits that I talked in that wolf's image. It has them deleted. They have the ability to empathize deleted, the ability for remorse deleted, the ability to feel any emotional impact for what they do to others deleted. And what they are describing are psychopaths. These people are psychopaths in our reality on behalf of psychopaths operating outside our reality, because they are an expression of this. No empathy, no remorse, no shame. How on earth can you bomb the living shit out of Gaza and have no emotional impact? How can you lie to justify the invasion of countries that kill and maim millions? How can you do that? Only if you have no ability to empathize and you have no emotional consequence for your actions. So, you think politicians are on the world? No, it's something very different, which the major politicians are an expression of. Some know, many don't. And the reason that these hybrids are so, I'll call them the elite for want of a word, are so important is because there is a hybrid genetics. It means, because when you go back, genetics is just an information field, a frequency field. The frequency of the hybrid is closer to the frequency of the archontic entities than the general run of the human population. So the ability to possess, control, and dictate their behavior is far more powerful with the hybrids than it is with the general population that have a different genetics. And this is a Swiss clairvoyant called Anton Steiger, who was telling the story of his life in an article. He wasn't talking about any of this stuff. He was just saying experiences he's had. And this was one of them. He can see beyond what we call the physical into the energetic levels. When I see people in business or politics who are particularly trapped by the material world, for example, I notice that they no longer have any light bodies at all. In many of these people, the point of light at the heart chakra, here we go, which is otherwise always present, is no longer visible to me. What do we call psychopaths? Heartless people. Instead, I see something like a layer of shiny tar around them, in which a monstrous being in the shape of a lizard can be distinguished. When such people speak on television, for example, I see a crocodile shape manifesting itself around the person like a concave mirror. I don't see the light of their throat and forehead chakra. And I've talked to people all over the world that can see beyond the physical, who don't describe exactly the same, but it's very, very similar in terms of this possession. There you go, there's one of them, look. It's just a trick of the light, don't worry. So, what we're looking at is dual DNA in these bloodlines, which is what? Dual information fields, which will explain something else in a second. So these people appear to be one thing, but they're actually behind the facade of the human facade, something else. We're not from these parts. And if you look at it, that Avatar movie was symbolic in so many ways. What the American invaders did in the Avatar movie is they infiltrated the Na'vi, the blue people, by looking outwardly like the Na'vi. So they didn't realize they were being infiltrated. That's what's happening here. That's what's happened for thousands of years. We've been infiltrated by a force taking over this reality that has fooled us because it looks human. And you know, this is today, the era of chimeras. Scientists fearlessly create bizarre human animal hybrids. Did you know that scientists are creating cow-human hybrids, pig-human hybrids, or even mouse-human hybrids? They're doing it now at our level of knowledge. And one day, very soon, or sooner than later, all the people have taken the piss all these years are gonna have to face the fact that this is freaking true, and this is why the world is as it is, and when we understand it, we can do something about it. So shape-shifting, another thing, you know, I'm supposed to be kind of off with the fairies. It's so simple once you understand reality. Shape-shifting is possible, shifting from one form to another, because the body is not solid. And I talked just a few minutes ago about dual information fields because of the dual DNA. And what we have is the DNA, which is one information field, the DNA, which is the human information field. And what happens is, as one information field becomes dominant, it changes the holographic projection of the dual field. So, most of the time, virtually all the time, when we see them, they are projecting the human part of their dual DNA, which projects into the holographic world as a human-looking hologram. When there's a shift, they could do it at rituals, and they can also do it when they go through really extreme levels of fury and emotion, emotional anger. When the reptilian or the archontic part of the dual DNA information field becomes dominant, then the hologram reflects the information in that part of the dual DNA. And to the observer, and that's all that's happening, someone has shifted from one shape to another. All that's happened, there's been an energetic shift, and the observer has first decoded the human and then decoded the shifted information field, and to the observer, that person has shifted from one shape to another. It's just the way two different information fields are being decoded by the observer. People send me things all the time, and they sent me this one a long time ago because it looks like reptilian eyes. I'm not saying it is, but it's just a symbolic example of how people have described to me, because the eyes go more than anything. They say the eyes are the windows on the soul, and that's absolutely true. And interestingly, a friend of mine has an associate who went through a study to, well, I kind of agree with it, but I don't know him, but to develop iris scanning technology. And it involved him scanning, he said, 2,300 eyes or pairs of eyes. And he said to my friend, the most amazing thing about the research, as he looked at the eyes at very, blown up level, that around 4% of those he looked at appeared to be of reptilian type in appearance. That's about 4 or 5% is the figure that keeps coming back to me over the years. And interestingly, I saw a figure the other day, they reckon about anything between 4 and 6% of the population are born psychopaths. Whether that's connected, well, have a think, I don't know. Now, so what we're looking at is behind the painted smile, something very, very different. And you look here at one of the great traits of the reptilian brain. And of course, if you have more reptilian genetics, you're going to express the traits of the reptilian genetics information field more powerfully than the general population. And one of them is an obsession with ritualistic behavior and hierarchical structures of power. This is why things like royalty and the state are bloody obsessed with ritual. It's all has to be at a certain time, in a certain place. It goes round and round, ritual, ritual, ritual. That's a classic trait of the reptilian brain. It's why people like Satanists are obsessed with ritual. The secret societies, of course, are obsessed with ritual. Religions are obsessed with ritual. Here you go. This is the lady. They're so freaking happy, these people, aren't they? Hey? They're so happy. And the emotionless state of so many of the royal family, the real genetically deep royal family, is classic reptilian brain archontic personalities. And you see the obsession with ritual. When they bring someone new in the bloody royal family, they have to send out a new list for who's got to curtsy or bow to who. I mean, they're bloody mad. It just happened to be head of state. Look at it. I know my place. Your Lick Majesty. Have you ever seen her do that to him? We elect him. We have no frickin' say in her. And yet, all these professions that are supposed to be serving the people and anyone who wants to become a citizen, they don't have to pledge allegiance, an oath of allegiance to the people or the countries, to her, to the frickin' monarch. They have no power, they're purely symbolic to bring the tourists in. Bollocks! They're not even bloody British, the German royal family. Oh, look, Philip, is that the Luftwaffe? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, they place them in here, that's your head of state now, well, thanks very much. Does she speak English? Look in this one. We parasite off you when we have contempt for you, but you just let us do it while asking God to save me. What the fuck? God save the Queen! Bollocks to the Queen! What? And I have to bloody smile. There's a big England football match and all the players are lined up and the crowd are there and we're all patriotic. Oh, yeah, we are. And they go, long to reign over us. God save the Queen. Long to reign over us. I ain't, but many people, most of them are singing and demanding to be reigned over, suppressed, controlled over, dictated over. And that energetically has an impact, even though they don't consciously realize that's what they're doing. Just the national anthem, mate. It's not. See, it's lovely. They piss on us and we say it's raining. They piss on us and we say she's frickin' raining. There you go. And I think this guy's made the best statement ever about the Queen. I do. I love it. I think that's brilliant. It's fucking lovely. That's just absolutely perfect. Give that man a knighthood. So, in plain sight, this elite, it's not just arrived in the last few years. There's been a journey. It goes way back further than this, but you can pick it up in this ancient period when these very advanced societies, compared with much of the rest of the world, started to emerge in Mesopotamia, Sumer, Babylon, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China. And these bloodlines came out of these ancient societies. The Chinese emperors used to claim the right to be emperor because of their genetic descendants from the serpent gods. And this is a major place they came out of, Sumer and Egypt, which became Babylon, which is now Iraq. The fact they're bombing the shit out of this place over and over and over and over again is because it has massive energetic, I can't go into it now because it's too long even for the time I've got, but it's got massive energetic significance globally. And they're creating massive energetic mayhem there for much deeper reasons than just on the surface. So these bloodlines started moving up into Europe under different names. They became the hierarchy that established Rome and the Roman Empire. Eventually, they started to locate in Britain, and then they had the British Empire. Wherever these bloodlines have focused themselves or located themselves, a freaking empire has followed. We now have the American Empire, though they will not call it that. And eventually, as this, virus spreading, this influence spreading, reached a certain global point, we had global Babylon. And global Babylon came when all the European powers, not least the British Empire, went walkabout all over the world, creating all the bloody colonies. And at that point, there was a resistance to the colonies, and they appeared to pull back and let the empires fade. That was only on the surface. What did I say right at the start? The best form of slavery is if you don't tell them. What actually happened is what was left out in those countries when the empires apparently receded were the bloodline under different names, the secret society network which manipulates them and their agents into power, and they've gone on controlling those countries ever since. The United States, major world power on the surface, controlled from Europe on the secret society level of the network. And what they've created, which we have today, is a vast web with the archontic inner sanctum dictating out through these various organizations, which I'll get to as we go through the day, a policy, a global direction of society to more and more centralization of power, more and more control, more and more surveillance, more and more takeover of everything, and more inversion of the natural order. And they have the hidden with the secret societies, the deep secret societies, and then the hidden has a cusp where it meets the seen. And there you see organizations like the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, the Trilateral Commission, and the Council on Foreign Relations in America. And then from the cusp of the hidden meeting the seen, you come out into the real scene, which are countries and agencies of government. And they are making decisions and introducing policies which on the face of it appear to be made on their decision, on their say-so, but where it started was here, coming out from the center of the web. And that's why the same things can happen all over the world at the same time. The virus spreading, that's what it's been. So, we have these apparently different aspects of the hidden and religion operating in isolation. They're not. They're all worshiping the same God. Some know, some don't. It's bloodline Satanists. As I've gone through this 25 years, again and again, when I've followed the trail of people in power, I have found members of secret societies, of course. I have found Satanists, and I've found pedophiles. And those three things come together in ways that I'm going to describe. Behind it is this archontic force, like I say. And the here today, gone tomorrow people, even those that have some awareness of what's happening, they are the gophers that introduce what starts out in the hidden. And Satanists are interacting with these entities. When they talk about, I mean, I've talked to Satanists, former Satanists all over the world, who've given me chapter and verse on how it all works. And they are, in these rituals, interacting with these archontic gods, these archontic demonic entities. And what is happening is in the archon realm, where these major satanic rituals are taking place, in the archontic realm, there are rituals taking place. When I say rituals, there is manipulation of energetic fields taking place to mirror the energetic impact of the rituals that are taking place in the satanic ritual within our reality. And what that does is create an energetic sync, an energetic synchronization, which allows these entities, some of them, to slip through like an energetic gateway, vortex, into this reality for these rituals. I've talked to many, many Satanists who described how these entities have manifested at their rituals because of this reason. They use colors, certain colors, because it's all about frequency and wavelength. They're manipulating energy. And you see these colors again and again in the pomp and ceremony of the royal family and stuff like that. And this is David Berkowitz, who was the son of serial killer in New York many years ago now. And he said in letters to a Christian minister in jail, yeah, I did it, but I did it on behalf of a satanic coven. And he said this in one of his letters, absolutely spot on. Satanists are peculiar people. They aren't ignorant peasants or semi-literate natives. Rather, their ranks are filled with doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and basically highly responsible citizens. They are not a careless group who are apt to make mistakes, but they are secretive and bonded together by a common need and desire to mete out havoc on society. It was Aleister Crowley who said, I want blasphemy, murder, rape, revolution, anything bad, low vibrational energy, suppress the energetic sea in which we are interacting. And this satanic network goes into politics, it goes into banking, it goes into the media. Of course, not everybody, not even nearly everybody, but key people that are directing society. This is a Swiss banker quoted in a magazine a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, in the Russian magazine Novy Den. These people, he's talking about bankers, are corrupt, sick in their minds, so sick they are full of vices, and those vices are kept under wraps on their orders. Many are into Satanism. When you go into some banks, you see these Satanistic symbols. My God, you do. Like the Rothschild Bank in Zurich. These people are controlled by blackmail because of the weaknesses they have. They have to follow the orders or they will be exposed. They will be destroyed or even killed. And at the top of the list I saw recently in professions of psychopaths were bankers. Now, this bloodline passes through what we call history. And it just so happens, because it's an information field and it's a personality field and it gets people in a certain personality type. This is Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Impaler, who was one of the most famous Satanists ever. He used to impale people and just let them slowly die. And he was a member of something called in its short name, the Royal Court of the Dragon, which started out in ancient Egypt. And he is the man, because he was such a Satanist, that Dracula, the Bram Stoker Dracula, was based upon. It just turns out that she is a descendant of Vlad Dracul through Mary of Teck, her grandmother. And this is how the bloodline comes through, and these are satanic bloodlines. These satanic bloodlines, it's in the blood, it's in the information field. And Prince Charles has actually publicly talked about his genetic descendants from Vlad Dracul in Transylvania. So they're descendants of Dracula. I see the likeness. I do. I see the frickin' likeness. I'm not sure about him, mind. I'm not sure he's one of them. Lucky boy, I say. And then you go across the Atlantic. These are descendants of Vlad Dracul. No wonder they have no empathy. They go doing their satanic rituals at places like Bohemian Grove in Northern California, worshipping a 40-foot stone owl, the implications and symbolic nature of which will be coming along. All these people, this is Moloch, one of the ancient gods that they used to, in the Bible it talks about sacrificing children through fire to Moloch. That's Moloch. And what we're seeing, you know, talk about entrainment, where you can be pulled into a frequency and that frequency starts to influence you. All over the place now you're seeing satanic imagery. In Grammys go satanic, the satanic stage shows, videos and all that stuff. Here's the Thriller. It was all about kind of Satanism with the serpent eyes with Michael Jackson. They making vampires sexy through things like Twilight. Then we have Halloween, we're just coming up to. Satanism Light. It's pulling people in. The real Halloween sees phenomenal numbers of children and others, but children sacrificed all over the world. It's one of the great satanic ritual days. And now they've got kids turning it into a form of Christmas, which is another form of their ritual, which I'll come to later. And the real trick or treat was when the Druids knocked on people's doors and demanded a sacrifice of a girl, and then, you know, sacrificed her, killed her, and burnt her on the bone fire, where bonfire comes from. And now we're having kids do it, trick or treating. It's pulling kids into this frequency. And here we have in America a satanic temple to distribute materials to school children in Florida. And there was an Australian Satanist who, just before he died, wrote a long document about Satanism and its influence, not as an apology, he supported it. And one of the things he said was that they do rituals on particular points on the Earth's energy field, particularly powerful vortexes, and they do their really dark, horrific rituals because they are seeking to lower the vibrational frequency of the energy field, the energy sea in which we interrelate. And this is what he said. What is most people do not realize is that Satanism is a ritually based practice, and that this repetition has over time left strong impressions upon the morphic field. Control the sea and you control the fish. It's all about frequency, suppression to keep us in density and out of multi-level connection. So religion is Satanism light. It's like a public version of it if you look at the rituals.